Good afternoon, folks. This is Fred Campos, owner of DFW Website Designers. It is Thursday, June the 8th, 2021, and this is your 3 business tips at 3 o'clock in around 3 minutes. Solopreneurs, small business owners, if you're just joining in, we're in a series this week talking about how to get to page 1 on Google. And we're up to part number 5, talking about minimum requirements that are needed for you to get there. Today we're going to talk about SSL, speed, and schema markup. Now, there are certain things you have to do. We've talked about having good content, the way you put it together, having things like sitemaps, the way you lay things out with H1s, H2s. But there also are some minimum core requirements that Google requires if you're even going to rank. Business tip number 1. You have to have that HTTPS, or it's called a security certificate, put onto your website. It wasn't a requirement until a couple years ago, but now Google favors those sites over others. Is your site secure? You normally used to have to do this if you were doing an e-commerce site, but now every site is required to have SSL as part of their requirements. It's something you should do. Most of the time your host provides it for free. For some of you, you may have to buy it, but it's something that has to be on your website. Business tip number 2 is speed. This also was not something that's come into, wasn't a requirement, but is now a requirement. If your site loads faster than other sites, it ranks higher. There are lots of things you can do. You can Google speed tests, talk to your web developer, make sure that all your images are crunched down to a certain level, make sure you don't have too many plugins involved that conflict with one another. Taking speed into consideration is something that Google does. Again, if it finds a website that have both of the same types of content and this site is greater than that site, it tends to favor the site that loads faster. Business tip number 3, very much like your sitemap, there are certain things that you can do, and there's something called schema markups, which you can create to help Google identify and write down the information about your website. Again, you can Google these. I'm only hitting the high notes right now, but again, these are things that will help you rank. If you do the minimum requirements required by Google, it will take your site into consideration. Now, that's not to say, again, content, good content, answering the right questions, having relevant content that people are interested in trumps all of this, but these are the basic minimums that are required. Anything I learned this week, I throw over the fence to you, because obviously I want you guys to be awesome and found online. Now go back to sleep.